Would you please welcome Stacy Dyson?
Now, I'm going to make just a real slight departure from what I had planned, and I will tell you why. My second mother is in the house, and if any of you have worked with Mary Mashburn, you know that when she talks, we listen. We listen fast, we listen hard, we listen tight. And so we were talking to each other during the intermission, and she said, "Well, darling, you're going to sing, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, no, Mom, that really wasn't, on the list." And she looked at me again and she said, "Darling, you're going to sing." I just flew in from San Diego. The altitude change is affecting my brain a little bit, so it took me a minute. But yes, Mom, absolutely. So this is a group participation number, okay? You do not have to sing, but you do have to clap. Now, for those of you who are rhythmically impaired, all you have to do is give me this.
Hey.
When you're all alone and you're feeling so blue, baby, don't feel rained on. I've been rained on too. Crying like you used to do. So child, don't feel rained on. I've been rained on too. We used to walk side by side in all kinds of weather. Now I'm walking alone, where we once walked together. So when you're alone and you're feeling so blue, baby, please don't feel rained on. I've been rained on too. I've been a kickabout, tough to get out, half dismissed without a doubt. I'm just the kind to be rained on. Don't let it rain on you.
All right.
Thank you, Mary.
So the story that I'm going to tell you about is when I was a little girl and I got, not literally, but figuratively, rained on. This story is about curiosity. This story is about what if I do something I know I'm not supposed to get into. This story is about the worst spanking I ever got in my life. Now, there are a couple of things that you need to understand about the way I was raised. I grew up surrounded by books and music. I thought everybody read and everybody sang. That was normal. I thought everybody in the world did that. And so I, according to my mother, came out of the womb with like a really, really vivid imagination. And if there wasn't something for me to get into, kind of sneaky and under the wire, because I'm a middle child too, and we know how to do that, I would make up something to get into. And I hardly ever got caught. The other thing that you have to understand about the way my household ran was my mother. My mother was a northern girl, but she was raised southern. And that meant when you acted up, you got spanked. Now, there are those of you in the audience who have never experienced the following phrases. Go find me a slipper. Go get me a hairbrush. And my personal favorite, go cut me a switch. Because Because my southern folks know that it only takes one good dance with a cherry tree branch to get your mind right. But as I say, I was a pretty good kid, and I was also a little bit sneaky, so I didn't get tagged all that often. The thing about my mother, my parents are two very, very different people, okay? My father could never ever spank his girls. I've got 5 sisters, and Dad was never able to lay a hand on any of us, okay? Because all you had to do was this number right here. And that was it. Dad was done. My mother didn't have that problem. My mother was not a woman easily swayed from the path that she was on. And if she decided you needed a spanking, you were going to get a spanking. So, to begin the story, I'm 7, and I am at home, and I have strep throat. And I've been home for about a week, and I am bored out of my freaking mind. There is nothing to do. I've played with all of my toys. I've read all of my books. I've colored as much as any human being can stand to color. There's just nothing for me to do. And it's too cold and too rainy outside. We were living in Washington State at the time. Too cold, too rainy to go outside. I'm still too sick to even be allowed, as far as the screen door. And my sisters are at school, and there's nobody for me to play with, and there's nothing for me to do. And so, here comes this one morning, and I am sitting and I am watching Captain Kangaroo. Y'all remember Captain Kangaroo, okay? Now, I was madly in love with Captain Kangaroo. And in a very pure, innocent, sort of way, of course. I saved my lust for Race Bandit on Johnny Quest. That was something. Race was a cartoon. The captain was a real man. Okay? And so there were all these fantastic characters on Captain Kangaroo. There was Mr. Green Jeans, and then my 2 favorites. Okay, my very, very first favorite was Bunny Rabbit. And I loved Bunny Rabbit because Bunny Rabbit was always getting into trouble and trying to find some way around it, never quite making it. Every now and again, Bunny Rabbit might get away with something, but then Mr. Green Jeans would have a talk with him, or the captain would have a talk with him, and Bunny Rabbit would feel bad. It was lovely. But my very, very favorite, my heart, was Grandfather Clock. Now, both of my grandfathers had passed before I was old enough to really meet them. And so Grandfather Clock was my grandfather. And I listened to everything Grandfather Clock ever said. And Grandfather Clock always had these fantastic lessons about, minding and about being polite. And it was always said in this beautifully soft, gentle, sensible voice. So, on this particular morning, Grandfather's lesson was, if you tell the truth, nothing bad will ever happen to you. Y'all are getting ahead of me here, okay? Grandfather Clock's lesson was, if nothing, if you tell the truth, nothing bad will happen to you. Now, while Captain Kangaroo had been on, my mother, who was no doubt, just had enough of me for that particular day, we were living in a duplex, and she had gone next door to the neighbor ladies to borrow sugar or have a cup of coffee or whatever. Grandfather Clock gives his lesson, Bunny Rabbit pulls a few more stunts, Captain Kangaroo says goodbye, TV goes off, and I am up and I am roaming looking for something to do. And I go and I kind of surreptitiously open the door, God forbid my mother should hear, because I'm not supposed to be doing that. And then I kind of wander around and I go and stand in front of my books and, read that one, looked at my sister's books, read that one. I was a very fast reader. Went to go, look at my crayons and my paper. I was not feeling it. And I found myself wandering into the laundry room. Now, this is where the what if part of the story comes up. What if, I asked myself, you take 2 cups of bleach, liquid bleach, and pour them into a load of colored clothes that are already in the dryer. Now there's a couple of things wrong with this. First of all, I am strictly forbidden to be anywhere near the bleach. It's up over my head, as it should be, okay? Secondly, my mother distinctly told me, don't wander around and get into anything while I'm gone. Okay? But Mom wasn't there, and I was bored. So I decided to find out what happens when you pour 2 cups of liquid bleach into a load of colored clothes that are already in the dryer. So I climbed on up to where I could reach it. Again, something I was forbidden to be on that step ladder. But again, Mom wasn't there, so hey. Climbed up the step ladder, got the bleach, opened it up, poured it rather sloppily, into the measuring cup on top of the dryer. Opened up the dryer door. Now I'm in the back of my head. There's, because we're born with that little voice saying, "Don't do that." That's a stupid, almost suicidal thing to do. At 7, I did not know the word suicidal, but I knew what it felt like. Like, don't do this. This is a bad idea. Okay? That, my good angel is sitting on my shoulder saying, "Stacy, behave yourself." And my bad angel is sitting on my other shoulder saying, "Go for it, girl, let's see what it looks like." And I was listening to my bad angel. So I open the dryer door, and I pour in the bleach. And I shut the door because, you don't leave evidence of the crime when you shut the door. Now, I want to stop at this point and give a quick nod to the folks at Disney and Hanna-Barbera and all of the other people who made cartoons, because I thought bleach could think. Why would I not think that? I was raised watching cartoons where bears wore pork pie hats and stole picnic baskets and outwitted rangers, and where water sang and danced, and where mice piloted tugboats and things like that. And so it never occurred to me that the bleach couldn't think. So I figured one of 2 things will happen. The bleach will decide that, oh, this is the wrong load, and just go off to the side somewhere. Or it will be sensible enough to only hit, the white parts of the clothes and leave the rest alone. Okay? But again, I am coming from being influenced by cartoons like Beanie and Cecil. Okay, I was crazy about Beanie and Cecil. Beanie and Cecil was about a little boy with a beanie hat. They weren't working real hard on the titles these days. And Cecil was a sea serpent, okay? And so Cecil's arch nemesis was Billy the Squid, okay? Billy the Squid wore a cowboy hat and had a 6-shooter, of course, one for every tentacle, and a theme song. To this day, when my sisters and I get together, we have to sing the Billy the Squid theme song. Y'all want to hear the song?
Yeah.
Do it.
Giddy up, horsey, which way did he go? He went that way, yippee-ki-yo. Okay, so I knew, because if squids could sing and carry 6-shooters, and if water sang and danced, and mice could pilot tugboats, then of course the bleach would know what to do once it was in the load of colored clothes. Now, the little voice in the back of my head is now saying, even louder, "Stacy, this is not a good idea." And I'm starting to think, this might be a little something wrong with this. So to accelerate the process, because I thought drying it would make it better, I turned the dryer back on. Again, something that I was strictly forbidden to do. I wasn't supposed to be touching any of this stuff. And then, having satisfied my curiosity, I went on my merry way. So, something, I don't know, Roy Rogers or something, is on TV, and I'm sitting in front of the TV again, and I hear my mother come in. And she's got to come in through the laundry room. And she's been gone long enough so that she knows the laundry's going to be finished. Now, bear in mind, again, I've got 4 sisters. Dad's in the military. This was a dark load, which meant his fatigues and our dark load. Okay. So, I hear Mom open the dryer door. always very verbally emotional. And so I heard my name pronounced in a way that I had quite never heard it before. But I stood my ground. It was going to be okay. Okay? So my mother came to me and she said, as mothers will do, what? Not what did you do, just what? Not what were you thinking, just what? And I just looked at her, like, no habla inglés. Which, particularly at that time period, when you were a child of color, was signing your own death warrant. And so she unclenched her jaw, because Mom was seriously upset, enough to say, what did you do? Now this was my chance. This was my chance to just fess up and get it over with, and I was still gonna get in trouble, but it wasn't gonna be as bad, okay? But again, I just kind of looked at her like, I have no idea what you're talking about. One more time. She gets as close to my face as I enter this microphone. And she has stopped asking questions. She is now making declarative statements. You put bleach in the dryer. This was my chance, because I was shielded, ladies and gentlemen, by the promise of grandfather clock. I stood up, I looked my mother straight in the eye, and with all the 7-year-old honesty and sincerity in my voice said, yes, I did. I wanted to know what would happen. But, again, it was okay, because grandfather clock had told me, if you do something bad, but you tell the truth, nothing bad will happen to you. Grandfather clock lied to me. My mother took me into the bathroom, shut the door, and proceeded to wear me straight out. And it was not with calm, philosophical, intellectual discussion either. This woman was truly, truly upset. And when I tell my nephews this story, when they were little, and I used to tell them this story, they would always say, because there's always like the scale, Was it, kind of like a little tap on the thing? Was it like, like with the branch? Was it? I tell my nephews, like, I want you guys to all, in the back room, can you see my hand? Can you see that skin shade? Okay. I was born 2 shades darker than this. My mother was so mad she threw 2 shades of black off of me. She straight 100% wore me out. And I remember, between every, swing, thinking, but grandfather clock. And I remember sobbing in protest saying, but Mom, I told you the truth, nothing bad is supposed to happen to me. My mother was not hearing me. Bad things continued to happen for about 5 minutes. So, it's finally over with, I was sobbing incoherently. And I remember my mother just going to the dryer and just pulling out the clothes, and these great, huge bleach spots just all over everything. I think probably maybe out of a full load, maybe a third of it was salvageable. Okay, the rest was just ruined. And when you are living on a cashier and sergeant's salary, that's a big expense. Okay. Now, my father came home, and my father was always the peacemaker. He was like, baby, it's okay. Okay, and I remember hearing my mother yell, no, Curtis, it is not okay. Tell her that it's okay. My rear end did not think it was okay. So, so the question usually comes, at this point, whoever I'm telling the story to, they say, were you mad at your mom for a long time? No. I mean, I knew what was going to happen, and I went ahead and messed up anyway. And you know, in my house, you did the deed, you got spanked, that was the end of it. So I wasn't really all that ticked off with my mom. She was doing what mothers do. I'm actually lucky she didn't kill me when I think back on it. The person that I was mad at was grandfather Clock. Grandfather Clock sold me down the river. This was not an individual to be trusted. This was no one that I was ever going to take advice from ever again. You know, and I just remember thinking with all of my little 7-year-old might, I will never forgive Grandfather Clock. It was very dramatic, even at 7. I will never get over this. I will remember this spanking for the rest of my life, and it's Grandfather Clock's fault. Yeah, Sarah Bernhardt had nothing on me. That lasted for 2 days. But I made a point, because I had a statement to make, okay? And so I would still watch Captain Kangaroo, you know, and I would still laugh, you know, when Bunny Rabbit messed up, and I would still, you know, listen to everything that the captain had to say, and even though Mr. Green Jeans had always really annoyed me, you know, I kind of honed in on what he was doing, but the minute Grandfather Clock came on, I folded my arms, and I turned my back, and I refused to look at the screen until Grandfather Clock started speaking. This man had trained. That snit fit lasted for all of 2 days.
Wow.
But when you're a kid, 2 days is an eternity. And after 2 days, I couldn't take it anymore. I missed my grandfather. So the third day, I was actually able to comfortably sit on the third day. I sat down in front of the TV, and Grandfather Clock came on, and he smiled at me. And everything was okay.